Guys, Justin Dunn here. Justin Dunn Mustang Horsemanship from Guffey, Colorado. Anybody know where that is?
Colorado.
You know where Guffey is?
U.S.
Yeah.
Colorado is.
Yeah? Yeah, it's out in the middle of nowhere. Take a left. That's where I live. Actually, 35 miles from any town. I love it. So I'm in the big city. I designed this bitless bridle. How many of you have horses? Everybody? Do any of you ride bitless already? Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the products that I use, designed and why, and then the training philosophies behind it. And I'll use this horse because he looks like he's going to stand with me real nice. And can you see him?
Oh yeah, we can see him.
Cool. What's his name?
Bubba.
Bubba. So we got Bubba here. And we're gonna take this halter off. Easy. We're gonna take this halter off you.
He's just a little excited.
Yeah. Oh, he's ear shy. I'll pass this around. You can check out the construction of this bridle, and I'll explain it a little bit. So, I have a philosophy that I use. It's trade places with the horse and treat them as you'd want to be treated if the roles were reversed, and then pretend that halfway through each training session that he or she gets to treat you the way you've been treating them. So, in using that philosophy, come up with some rules that I never break. We don't force a horse to submit with pain or fear. We want to create a willing partner in the relationship that wants to come with me to do the higher mission or the higher purpose that I have in mind. And when a horse will willingly come to do that, never has any fear, never has any pain, never thinks about that you're going to hurt them in that relationship, it creates that partner that is like ready, willing, and available to do the mission. And my mission, what we do at home, is I have a trail riding business, so people from all over the world come and ride my horses in the mountains of Colorado. And then we have a camp for children with cancer. We do 4 one-week sessions every summer. And children from all over the U.S. come, age 10 to 18, and they get issued a horse for a week, and then we do a mini cattle drive on the Friday. So they come in on a Monday, they get a horse, and then all through the week they get to know that horse, self-discovery through horsemanship. We do a lot of that kind of thing. And then Friday they do a mini cattle drive. So to create that type of horse, I have to really set up priorities for success. I have to set up a environment that horse wants to be a part of, wants to do those things with me for those kids, for that higher purpose, the bigger mission. And then they feel confident and they feel like they're serving their higher purpose. And I just get to be a part of it. And then they help me serve my higher purpose, and they get to be a part of it. And we're a team. We run together. I do like to be the leader because, you know, being the leader, the horse has someone or another horse or a person he can draw to. So my passion is a little wild horse, BLM Mustang. Any of you guys know what that is? BLM Mustang? You can raise your hand. Yeah. Bureau of Land Management has grasslands, and wild horses stay on those grasslands. So the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, they manage the herds, and they have to cull the herds, and then they find them homes for adoption. We do an adoption process and find them homes. So I happen to have 7 of those guys, and I have 15 total, and then the rest are rescued horses out of rescues. So we take the worst of the worst in most cases, and we rehabilitate them into doing this higher mission. And see, it's really beautiful thing because wild horses need adopted. So we adopt them, and then we give them a purpose. You know, they get to be a part of something bigger than both of us. And being that leader to them, I create that draw. Being the leader is something that I look at as I care more about who I'm leading than being the leader. And the horse will recognize that. He understands his position and his place, but he wants to be in that position or that place. Because all of you can agree that if you have a good leader, yeah, let's do it. Let's do this mission together. Let's go. And that's what they'll do. They'll start to do that. And I designed a system of training, if we want to call it training, but I designed the system to create that environment with 5 questions that I ask every horse, and I get to learn them. And I'm asking them questions. And then creating that willingness, and I get to see, and I get to change here and present it back to them. And then based on their feedback, if it's undesirable, I get to change here again and present it again. And create this partner that understands I care about them. I want them to be comfortable. I want them to understand what it is we're asking them to do. So I designed the bitless bridle as an asking device with pressure being the question, release is the thank you. So if I pick up on a rein, it's a question, they respond. The release is a thank you. Starts on the ground, and what I'll do, I'll demo this little horse here. He's going to be a good one for it. I use a silver tip lead rope and halter. So I use this halter here, and I'll place this on my horse, and this is one of the intricate pieces of equipment that I'll use in communication with a horse. So I like a thin rope halter, not to ever hurt my horse, but to give him the best opportunity to pick up on the cue or the pressure or the question. He can feel that. And these are good too on a finished horse that understands the questions, but this will give him clear, undistorted, direct, focal communication. This is spread over a larger surface area, so he may not, get the best opportunity to understand what I'm asking. Then I'll use a heavy 12-foot yacht cord, and it's heavy. It's got some heft to it. And I could demo it with you and show you the difference in a lightweight and a heavy. So when I send some energy down it, it doesn't take much from me. So what I want to do is communicate with my horses 5 questions: back up, left, right, forward, ground tie, rub them to a stop, let them know, stay with me, be with me. It's a little easier to demo this portion on a real horse, but we'll just fly through that. If you want to see it, you can go to Big D's video we shot at noon today, their Facebook page. Watch that video. We played with a little wild horse, and I asked these questions with this very halter and lead rope to show you exactly how we'll establish this clear line of communication and engage in this conversation of pressure is a question, release is a thank you. And that's the way we'll transfer to the saddle as well. So we'll start with this, and then we transition to the bitless bridle as we transition up on their back and ask the same questions up there that we ask down here. So having that philosophy of trade places with them, treat them like you'd want to be treated if the roles were reversed. I thought about it one day, and based on my own horse's feedback, I realized they really don't like bits. And I thought, well, okay. I took some guys trail riding one time, and I forgot all my bitted bridles, to tell you the truth. And it's a 2.5-hour drive. I wasn't going to go back. So we just, I pulled the lead rope around, tied it to the halter, and the horses were really nice for 5 days. And that's about 15 years ago, so it was one of those things that stuck. But it didn't stick so good that I just, I'm never using bits again. We just kept kind of going, but evolved back into it. I thought, I'm going to try that bitless bridle stuff. And realized the horses really, really loved it, actually. And it's one of those things that gives a person a large margin of error to make mistakes. So if you're never using anything that's going to hurt your horse, cause him pain, he's not going to anticipate the pain. So that's one less worry in that equation that you have to deal with. So we can ask questions with pressure, and we can, even if this horse, not him, a live horse were to pull on that lead rope or that bitless bridle, it's a lot of pressure, but it's nothing compounded as much as if he had a bit in his mouth and you really hurt him. So that philosophy of trade places with them, one of the reasons I use a bitless bridle, and ask with pressure that question, and have that mindset. There's a lot of philosophies and belief systems and best practices behind the idea of this bitless bridle to make it work effectively. And that's key, really, in training to prepare for anything, even if you were using a bit. We want this horse to draw to us and want to be with us. So some of those priorities for success are attitude, mindfulness. All horses are different. I've been all over the country. I've played with all breeds, all little minis to drafts. I even did a camel. They're different. So it's one of those things where you have to be mindful of not to get into a habit of say, well, I do it this way with 5, 6 horses, and that 7th one, I'm going to do it this way. It's just not like that. So asking questions, you get to take those notes, and then based on their feedback, you get to make changes. So any questions so far? Now I'm just going to rattle along. Okay, no questions. I'm that good. Just sinking right in. We're going to get this done, and everybody's going to have a happy horse. So that bitless bridle, I designed that. I went around and looked at a lot of different bridles and used a lot of different ones, and I have that trail riding business. So I couldn't find one that would actually stand the test of time, for one. And for two, it wouldn't communicate to the horse very effectively. So let me show you something with this, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about as far as the fit with the bitless bridle and communicating from their back. Whenever we have a horse understanding that 5-part series, back, left, right, forward, ground tie, literally ground tie, then we want to transition those questions up to his back. I'll want to have a lateral flexion. I want to be able to pick up on this rein or this lead rope with a halter, give him some pressure, and before that gets tight, he comes to it and give it back. It can be 1 inch, very first lesson. It can be 2 inches, 3 inches. But whenever he understands, I pick up on this and don't let that get tight and give me your face, he has softness within his body. He's not rigid and bracing. So the invitation is being extended to, okay, basically here's my question. Hey, are you with me? And when he gives me his face, he's with me, then we can start working up here. Start getting up here and asking questions. If I pick up on this and he's bracy and rigid, head high, and his hind end goes that way, he's telling me don't get on my back. But a lot of people do. They just keep going and get up there, and then bucking, rearing, bolting, all that, because the horse is confused. He has anxiety and he doesn't understand what it is you expect from him. So we take these steps, prepare the horse for what we expect from him, and we have a realistic expectation. It takes some time. Can't do it overnight. So anyways, once we got them where they're real soft with this, we'll take them out of this. I'll actually ride them with this left side. I'll be up here riding along, and I fast forward a lot. We do some pad work and saddle work and all that, but communication with hands and bitless bridles, what we're talking about. So I want that horse to be soft on this lead and halter. Once he's soft, I get up here and then I'll start asking him to move and guide and stop and guide and move and getting off calf muscles and all that. So he has to understand the communication up here so there's no confusion, and then that anxiety is reduced. We do what we call non-restraint communication, meaning I want this horse to understand he's free to go at any time, and I need to see that if he does. So let me back up a little bit. Whenever you ask those 5 questions, back, left or right, forward, ground tie. Once the horse understands the ground tie, and then you can come back here and work with the pad and the saddle and all that. He's telling you, yeah, I want to be here. He obviously knows he can go. The punishment for that would be to just ask him the questions he knows the answers to, put him back through that series, push the hip, create the draw, ground tie, rub him to a stop, go back to doing what you're doing. Once we have this horse understanding, and I'm seeing the feedback, to just stay with me, want to be with me, be comfortable, be relaxed, we can progress up to his back. We got him soft, giving off the rein pressure, and we'll transition to a bitless bridle. So I'll show you how to fit that bitless bridle. Any questions on this setup here? This is the best setup.
Okay. You got a couple knots on each side. What about the ones that they have next?
You're talking about a 4-knot system?
Yeah.
You can use a 4-knot system, and there's a big misconception on those knots. I've been reading it on Facebook and stuff. People are so, quick to judge a halter because it's got a couple of knots. Oh my gosh, that's so abusive. I'll tell you right now, it's only abusive by the hands that are using it. If this horse was having trouble understanding what I was asking him, not this horse, if a horse was having trouble understanding what I was asking him, we could put some knots in there, or get a halter with some knots, and you're just going to continue to start soft, increase the intensity of the question. You're not going to try to hurt him to force him to submit with pain. So the equipment is not necessarily, bad. It's the hands that are using it. I'm not anti-bit, by the way, or spurs. I just don't use them because I have kids in camp and I have tourists that come and they wouldn't even know what a spur is. They think it's for noise walking around. But it's proper use of tools. That's what it'd be. So to answer your question, the knots is the only way I would go to a 4-knot is if the horse was a little heavy faced, because you can have a heavy mouthed horse, you can have a heavy faced horse. He's just not sensitive. So we'll give him something that'll help us focus some pressure to where he can respond correctly. We're not using it in an abusive way. Any other questions about this setup? So can you do demo with me? You're going to be my fake horse. A real horse. Nice horse. All right. So if you had that on your face and I send some energy down it, you can feel that, right? So we always start soft. We start where we want to finish. So if we start soft in the
There's
session.
a lot. I can feel that a lot.
Yeah, you can feel it. Now, if I go as heavy as I want to go, I just widen it, and that's pretty heavy. And to properly give this demo, I probably should have had a competitor's lead rope. A softer, less heft lead rope. This has got some heft to it,
Yeah.
some weight. The key is, in this communication, establishing this, have a thin halter where it transmits the most energy, the easiest way with less energy from you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like you want a thin focal point. It's like if I push you with my whole hand or if I push you with the finger, big difference. So that's what we're trying to establish with that horse so he gets the best, quickest communication. And this heavyweight rope is, I got to do a lot less
That's amazing.
to give you that. And that's on his face so he can feel that. You don't have to be all heavy and rough. You start soft. If you guys go to Big D's Facebook and watch that video we took of the little Mustang, I give her this and she backs up. She's like, I get it. There's no reason, 5-year-old kid could do it. There's no reason to be heavy. So this will really help you get a horse nice and soft in preparation for a bitless bridle or preparation for a bit. A lot of my friends, we're done, you can just toss it. A lot of my friends, or pass it around, look at it. A lot of my friends ride with bits and they'll practice bitless. So they practice bitless and then they'll show in a bit and it's like, man, my horse is so much softer. Because, they understand what you're doing. They're focusing on me rather than the equipment I'm using. And see, a lot of people make mistakes. I mean, I used to too. You pick up on a rein with a bit and something happens and you really get after it. And all that does is really log into that horse's little notebook. That really hurt. And I'm going to watch for the next one. So he starts getting a little guarded and he starts getting a little, anticipating some pain coming. So he can't concentrate on the lesson that we're doing. I want to teach you to side pass, but you might hurt me with your hands. So take that out. We put a bitless bridle. I want to teach you to side pass. Okay, I feel that pressure. Oh, yeah. And I can make a mistake, and he's not going to resent me for it. He's not going to write it in his little book. Red flag to you, Justin. You hurt me. It's just going to get his attention. He's going to be like, oh, okay, what? Concentrate. And then go soft again, and he'll get it. And they never, ever, ever resent you. I have tourists that'll ride the horses, will go up a hill, and inevitably there's one that's going to balance on the reins. Whoa, almost fell off. Horse is just going to go, hey, give me some rein. He's not going to rear up and flip over backwards because it hurts so bad. He's just going to let him know, hey, you got too much rein. He's just going to pull some rein. That's it. Simple. And that's what we want to do. We never want a horse to anticipate that pain. All you new guys here that came in late, can pass this around. You can look at it. And this is a Justin Dunn Bitless Bridle made by Weaver Leather. Constructed a pretty good, real good leather. And that's the thing I was talking about earlier. I tried all those little side pulls that you can get for pretty cheap. And they're okay if you're going to just start at one colt and then keep on going and then that thing just hangs in your barn for the next colt. But day-to-day use, it just wouldn't stand up. 3 weeks, a month, it's falling off the horse, spiraling on his face. It just didn't work. So I designed this, and then the good people at Weaver, they made it, and they made it really, really good. So that way it'll stand the test of time, day-to-day use in my outfitting business. I train lots and lots of horses in it, and I've never had one complaint from a horse. Not one. It's amazing.
Not even a bad review from them on Facebook?
Never got a bad review from a horse with this. And it does instant fixes. It's pretty cool. Like a horse will be throwing his head with a bit, and I'll say, I can fix that right now. We take the bitted bridle off, horse quits doing it, put this on, quits doing it. It's amazing. But anyways, what I like to do is fit this to the horse to where this nose band is 1.5 inches above soft tissue. So you can feel on your horse's nose, soft tissue, then it turns into the bone. So you go about 1.5 inches up on his bridge of his nose. And then you want 2 fingers distance, just like on running parallel on his jawbones, and then you'll tighten this. So you get this to the proper fit. And as you use it, you may have to adjust it again because the leather is going to form to his face, like gloves or boots, forms to his face as you use it more and more. So I designed this on my hand. A lot of people are afraid of this knot. They'll ask me, is that aggressive? There again, it can be if you really get after them. But it spreads the surface area out to where this leather, if you look under here, it's like right in line. So this leather is right in line with that knot. So it's not like pinpointing. That's not really what that was for anyway. It was to hold this geometry based on my hand. So when I pick up on a rein with this ring, I would have cut this off if it was a real horse and I was using it. I'll pick up on this ring and it's just my right hand on that side of the face to push the face. To apply that pressure, spread over that geometry there, push the face. I literally used to ride horses. They're getting off my legs, we're depending less on reins, and now I want to go bridle less. So you take the bridle off and you're doing pretty good, but then they get confused and we're going through some cones. I just reach down there and just push the face. Sometimes here, where push that face, and then with a leg cue, and then they get it. It's not practical. So we got this bridle now, and we got reins, and we can assist as needed. And it's just pressure is the question, release is the thank you, to get off of that bridle. Whenever you're teaching a horse to stop with 2 reins, we're walking along, pick up 2 reins. If you're pulling more than 8 ounces of pressure with a bit or a bitless, you got to go back lateral. Ask laterally. Get the horse to stop his feet laterally, relax, then go back into a 2 rein to show him what it is you're asking. If we're pulling too much pressure, he's just going to learn to push against it, and he'll learn that he has a lot more strength than us, and he's going to just walk through your cues. And backing up to that groundwork, we ask those horses soft, increase the intensity of the pressure to get the desired responses. So same thing in the seat. I'll usually ask with legs and seat, first question. Then we'll ask with reins as a follow-up, depending less and less on reins. So they understand softness, and when they're responding to softness, you're preparing them for that heightened situation where they're not really paying attention to us. We don't have to go so high to ask them a question that we know they know the answers to get the desired response that we're after. So it's one of those things we prep them on the ground, transfer it to their back, and keep communicating that way. So even in practice, we're going to start soft, increase the intensity of the question by bumping, not pulling. That's kind of a misconception. Some people call this side pull. It should be a side bump. You start pulling on a horse, on the ground, in the saddle, you're going to learn how to get resistance. They're going to learn how to get leverage against you. And they're stronger, so they'll learn how to be stronger and pull you. So we start soft and pick up on that rein. Before it ever gets tight, you want the horse to come to you and give to you. 2 reins, if you're going over 8 ounces, it's not very much. You know what 8 ounces is? Like half a pound. It's not very much. If he's not listening and you're pulling 8 ounces of pressure and he's just walking along, got to go lateral. Stop those feet. Use that energy against him to get what you both want. I've said a lot of words. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm going to say a lot more. All right. Yeah, so that's how this bitless bridle came about. This is how we use it. This is why we use it. Yes?
I have a question. When you say lateral, you're just saying you're not stopping with 2 reins, whoa, so you're actually just turning them and then making them turn in circles to stay listen, or are you turning them and stopping them?
It's a good question. Did you guys hear that question back there? No. Okay, her question was, when you say lateral, are you picking up 1 rein and turning them, or are you doing a circle and then stopping them? So whenever I showed you with this lead rope and halter, and we want to pick up on that lead, and that horse gives to that pressure, he's displaying softness and suppleness through his body. And that's what we want, because he's relaxed state. Whenever we transition up here, we want to make sure we always have that. And we'll do what's called lateral flexion. Have you heard that term? Okay, so you'll slide, pick up on a rein, give some pressure, he comes, gives to it. Even if it's an inch or if it's all the way back to touching his shoulder.
So he's still walking forward, he's just flexing.
Well, he can, but there's two different ways. So he can laterally flex, we can see that. So we're walking along, and we're going to ask him to laterally flex into a 1 rein stop. And then we're going to release when he releases. So when he gives me that pressure, I give it back, and we wait. Now, I can laterally flex him, and I can say, I need you to do a circle. So I lay a calf muscle on him, and we do a whole circle. I take the calf muscle away, hold the pressure till his feet stop moving. Gives to me, I give it back. So I just showed him, here's what I'm after. When I pick this up and you got no legs on you, just give me your face. Laterally flex, relax. Basically, it's a relax button that stems off of some stuff we did in the ground, so that we can push that button anytime he starts to get a little heightened state of awareness. So we're walking along, we're into the 2 rein stops. We're there. We're trying to Here, I want to communicate this to you so whenever the kids get on you, you'll know what they're doing. And he says, well, I don't hear you, and he just keeps walking. Well, we'll go back lateral, and we'll just pick up on a left or a right, one rein, and we'll hold that pressure until his feet stop moving. He may do a circle. With enough practice, he's going to stay on line. He's just going to stop, give you his face, you give it back, you relax. Then you go again and you ask with 2 reins.
So he's not stopping, just keep him walking until he does give to it. Then
Yeah, just hold that pressure. You may have to bump it. You don't want to really like hold it and brace him. Bump him, make sure he's soft. It gets off that pressure. Feet stop moving, he gives to you. Gets off that pressure again, give it back. Makes sense? It's easier to demo with a horse, especially if it's one of mine that understands what we're talking about. But I never want to restrain him. So a 2-ring stop is a restraint. I want to communicate when you feel this pressure, stop your feet. But I want him to want to stop his feet. So you have to use his energy against him in a 1-ring stop. So that way he's saying, I really want to stop. So whenever you do go to it, when he's wanting to stop with that, when you go to a 2-ring stop, it'll just cross over a lot easier. He's cruising along and you do a 1-ring stop, he's like, oh, I wanted to stop anyway. He's cruising along and you apply 2 reins and he's like, yeah, I wanted to stop. He gets it. Sometimes they don't get it real soon, so I'll hold that pressure until they give me a step back and then I'll release it, wait. And then on our next stop, he's got it. Back. And we progress that way. Or we start soft, increase the intensity of pressure. But I don't go over 8 to a pound of pressure on 2 reins. See, I want that super, super soft. But I kind of use that horse's energy against him to be wanting to stop, So like to teach a 2-ring stop, we've already probably done a 4-hour trail ride, and we've probably already done 3 months of training. We've probably already done lots of trail riding. And then I say, okay, I'm ready to teach you 2-ring stops because you're awesome at seated stops. You're awesome at lateral stops. Or let's do a 2-ring now. So he's pretty much already dialed in with softness. And I just pick up on that rein and he stops, I release it. And he's like, oh, okay, I got it. So it's never really an issue. 2-ring stops are way down the road in training anyway. So once he's lateral, seated. Like I have a seated stop before I do a 2-ring stop. So people are like, how do you stop your horse with a bitless bridle? I don't even need that. Take that off, I'll ride him without it, we'll stop. I got a seated stop. And we can go into how to teach a seated stop too if you want. All right, how to teach a seated stop is you're walking along, you're going to position in your seat to stop, you're going to laterally flex and relax. Every time you seat and stop, and you're at the ready with the rein to do a lateral 1-ring stop, and he stops, you don't need to do it. It just went away. So he's like, oh, every time he positions like that, he does that. So it's the same way with riding bridles. If I want to steer with my legs, very first thing I do when I get on a horse, very first ride is prepare for bridleless. I'm going to give him a calf muscle. I tip the nose, give him a calf muscle. He gets off my leg, we're going to do a circle. It's the very first ride. And then I just take the calf off and give him his face back. Do it again. Then we do it the other way. So then when we take off walking, I do a circle and walk out of that circle. We're walking along. I give him a calf muscle, then I'm at the ready with the rein to turn into the rail. Give him a calf muscle. He doesn't understand that. Give him a rein, turn into the rail. We do that a few times, and he's like, first thing he does is that leg, and then he just gets off of it, and I'm like, cool, didn't need the rein. So you see how it just kind of escalates up until where you understand? And then you just take the bridle off. I mean, this is progressive over some time. The fastest I ever did it, the very fastest I ever did it was 3 days on a wild horse. The second fastest was 8 days on a horse that had been in a pasture for 2 years and only had 30 days training 2 years before that. And then, but that's not every horse. Typically, it's going to be 100 hours, 150 hours, 200 hours. It varies on horses, but that's the way you progressively go up to show them. I'm always depending less and less on the equipment that I'm using. So I depend less on that rope. From the very first session, within the first day to the 45th minute in that session, I've depended less on that all the way up. So when we start tomorrow, I'd like to depend less and less and less. So in 100 days, I don't even want it. Let's do liberty. I'll back you up. I'll push you left. I'll push you right. I'll push that hip, create that draw. I don't have a rope to ground tie you, but you already understand that. You're like, cool. And then I can do what I need to do. So depending less and less and less on our equipment, I'll depend less and less and less on that bitless bridle, and we'll ride bridleless. I can't ride very good, so I'm going to depend on my saddle. Otherwise, we'd be bareback. Which we do demos bareback at a walk. You know, you can just depend less and less on your equipment, more on your body language, more on your energy, throwing that energy, proper pressure, proper time for proper response, feel that horse. Make sense? So I was going to put these reins on to show you something, and I already forgot what I was going to show you.
Lateral.
Yeah, I'm going to show you lateral flexion on a stiff-necked horse. We might be here all day, guys. Any questions? Yes.
Does a lateral rein for a stop work better on the soft side or the hard side, or does it matter?
That's a good question. So he asked, does the lateral one rein stop work better on a hard side or soft side? On your horse, you want to balance that out. You want both soft sides. So if your horse is sticky on the right, you do more on the right to get him soft on the right. So you want to balance that. You want to dial that horse in where he's equal on both sides, soft on both sides. So when I'm in a conversation with a horse, and I'll show you some rein control too. Let me show you that real quick. So I want to be able to do both sides of my horse equal. Let me see if I can do this real quick. So I bridge my reins with my two reins and a center with my right hand or my left. I find center, meaning I'll have equal arc in both reins. So like if it's tied onto this horse and I'm sitting up here, it'll be the equal arc on both reins. So I'm centered with my right, and I don't have to look at my hands. I can look where I'm going, what I'm doing. So on this particular, I'm going to look now because I don't really have this set up right because I'm usually on a horse when I do this. So I want to slide, pick up. Yeah. Grab the ones that I know are out there, and then I'll let the tails dangle. So that tail, okay, there we go. Now this is the way that it feels for me. So I'll have nice slack reins. Whenever I want to ask my horse for a lateral flexion into a one rein stop, I know I have center at all times. I'm never going to let that go. It doesn't matter if I switch hands and I can look, I'm working cattle or whatever we're doing in the mountains. I got the center. I know where my center is. Keeps my spine aligned with his spine. So no matter what happens, I can stay centered on my horse the best of my ability. So whenever you want to ask your horse for a right rein lateral, I'm going to just reach right next to my hand, pick up the rein, slide. I got control of the rein, slide, grip it as far as I can comfortably reach, and then I'll reach out. Just let your left hand go out, and I'll come into my shoulder up here. Trajectory will be toward that shoulder. I'm not going to be down here behind me, not going to be out here, not going to be reaching. I'm going to keep my spine aligned with that horse's spine. And then I can stay centered, pick up on a rein, let it come around, come back toward here, drop it when he gives me his face. I can switch hands, I can do it the other way. So I want equal softness in both sides of my horse. So if you find that one side's sticky, that's your little notes you take based on the feedback. He's real soft on the left, he's real sticky on the right. Guess what we're going to do a lot more of today? Right side, right side, right side. We're going to balance that out. Make sense? Okay, thank you, horsey.
We have another question.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
On the throat latch, is there for this bridle, is there a specific way to adjust it?
This one here?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to see daylight. You want to be able to you want it snug to him. So if he shakes his head, it doesn't come off, or he rubs on a tree or whatever. You want it snug, but you don't want it too tight. You don't want to see, I don't see daylight through it. That's best answer. And it's adjustable. They punch more holes than most time that you need, but if you need more, you can punch more. This one here is adjustable on both sides. So it's got a crown strap with holes on both sides. So if you got a short-headed horse, it'll fit a lot of horses. The thing that I'm seeing now come through, since more and more people are buying this all over the world, we've got some long-headed horses where this crown strap, you got to punch an extra hole, which is not a big deal. You punch one more hole and it gives you like 2 more inches. Or we got to start making some longer crown straps for these really long-headed horses. In fact, I actually own a Mustang where I had to get a crown strap custom made. I think these are 34, and I had to get like a 38 made. He's a really big Mustang head.
Is that where you'd want the belt buckle to be on the face?
Yeah, so like see his eye? You want it below the eye. If it's up here, it's a blind spot for him. It's like a blinder. Or it can get into his eye if it's not adjusted properly. You want this adjusted properly so when you lift up on this ring that it just doesn't spiral on his face. It's actually, it'd be like loose steering in a truck. You know, it's like that halter centered down here and it's real loose, meaning loose steering in a truck. You got to turn the wheel a lot before the truck turns. Same thing with the horse. Once you get this bridle adjusted right, you really pick up on this ring right here, and as that starts to get pressure on it, he's like, yeah, got it. And it's like sports car. So he gets the best cue quick. Any other questions? And you can use all kinds of reins with this. This is just one we grabbed off the shelf. I use a split rein, 8-foot oiled cowboy collection in the mountains because they don't grab the trees and the brush. And then I'll use a like an 8-foot split rein. I can't think of what we call rope rein in the arenas. And you can get a horse really soft with those rope reins because they're lightweight and that horse can feel. You know, these are kind of stiff, a little bit rigid. I can get them real soft in this too, but in an arena, I usually use that rope rein. Yes, sir.
You use a little calf muscle when you go for your turns there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll be on the horse, and I'll start as soft as possible. I don't know if I could sit on him, but I better not. But it's one of those.
You can use the saddle over there.
But it's one of those things. Yeah. I'll use it. So I'll use this. Maybe. This is how you move these around, okay? In case you didn't know.
What's that?
Okay, so if I'm on my horse and I got it centered with the right hand, and I'm gonna slide with the right rein, pick up on that face, I'm asking him to turn his head. Whenever I'm ready to go, I'm gonna turn my toe out, left toe out, got a right rein, and I'm gonna give him calf muscle. If he doesn't respond to that, I'm going to bump, 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 bump with calf muscle, bump, 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 and then I'll turn in a heel, then I'll bump calf muscle, heel, 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 and then, you know, usually get him to go. And then start over again, calf muscle. Then bump calf muscle, calf muscle, calf muscle, calf muscle, heel, 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 go. And then eventually they're like, all right, I already know you're going to do heel, I'll just go with calf muscle. So I give them calf muscle and they go.
Now, are you determining where you actually put your leg?
Okay, so you're talking about leg position. We're going to do leg position 2, which is right in the center. There'd be 1 up at the forequarter or at the shoulder, and there'd be 3 at the back. In the first lesson, we're just leg position 2. In fact, I'll stay leg position 2 for probably 90 days, 90 sessions. We're not going to confuse them by throwing different stuff. I just want them to get off it, get off it, get off it. Now, when we're ready to start doing side passing, I'll work the front end, I'll work the hind end, then we'll work both, and then he's getting squirrely. I'll give him some 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 2 and 2, and, you know, like, hey, and it gets prettier, and then we stay leg position 2 on side passing. He's like, I got it. If he starts getting off center, I'll give you a little front end, I'll give you a little hind end, and we can take the bridle off and side pass without a bridle. You know? So, yeah, you're progressing up, but you want to keep it simple. So if you can just get him off your leg, calf muscle, you always have somewhere to go. So I can give him more bumping calf muscle, and give him the heel, and then I can kiss, and then I can take a tail and, hey, wake up, you know, whatever we need to do. But yeah, to answer your question, calf muscle, increase the intensity. You're not just going to gig and go first time. It's not fair. You got to show him, like, hey, it's just like this. Come here, horse. It's just like this. So just turn sideways, look at the crowd with me. So if I can't talk to her, and I start soft, okay, I come back, and I'm going to start soft. You pretty much know what I'm doing, right? I don't have to go heavy. It's the same thing. Make sense? No questions? Any questions? Because I can't think of what else I need to tell you.
I have a young horse I'm working with, and I typically ride dressage. You know, I mean, he's young, five-year-old thoroughbred, and I just did this last night, picking up the reins, and he as soft as I can, and he's just like starts into trots. I'm thinking how I can incorporate.
Yeah.
And he's very sensitive. I mean, he goes right. I mean, very sensitive. Like I don't have to do anything, but as far as just picking up the reins, nice and soft, and
Yep.
you know, he just.
Okay, so that's a
how can I incorporate like this
that's very
with the training.
very good. You do the same exact thing we do with our Western horses. Only you have a shorter distance of communication because you're going to ride probably contact, correct? Do you ride contact?
Yeah,
Okay.
but, you know, like I said, we're starting out training and stuff right now, so he's on his back, so a light contact. If I get too much, he's...
I'll try to get with you and I'll dig up a video. I trained a Frisian that was a high-powered dressage guy, started bucking and all that stuff because he was not being treated correctly. We put him in a bitless, played with him over the course of 5 days. The bucking went away, of course. It went away in the first 20 minutes. Then the lady was like, I don't think it's going to work. She's just not into it really. And I put this Western bitless bridle on this high-powered dressage Frisian horse, trained to the hilt, and we rode with contact with him, and he did that. He started head tossing and like, I don't know, but he was anticipating the stuff that he had prior. So what we did was we introduced it just this way I was showing you, where we pick up on a rein, we pick up with fingertips to maintain softness, we give him bump to get off of lots and lots of laterals over that first 4 days. And then I did a calf sorting with this horse, and the owner was like, he's afraid of calves. We won. I was like, he's awesome. He was so cool. He cruises out there and he sees the calves and he's like, and I'll never forget it. He picks his head up and it shows me his eye. He's like, what do you want me to do? I was like, well, chase it. Do whatever you want. He's sniffing it, cruising, and it runs from him. He's like, it ran from me. He starts chasing him. He loved it. So we won. But anyway, the 5th day, about the 4th day, I started riding with a little bit of contact, driving hips forward, giving some pressure, driving forward, ride with some contact. And I'm talking, normally my reins are like this in Western. Riding along, pick up on rein, it means something. On him, to the naked eye, it looked like it was about that tight. But that's my margin that I was using. I wasn't riding with contact, it just looked like it. He would bump into he would take the arc out of my rein, so he'd bump into it, he'd get off it. I didn't really have to move my hands, I kept them in a fixed position, but this was my margin. So I'd pick up on a rein and get some steer and give it back. Do the other side, give it back. And then he started figuring it out. Then I could collect him up and hold him there and keep a nice arc in my rein that you couldn't see. I could feel it. When he hit into it, he got back off of it. I collect both front and back legs come in, his head come up, and we're hoff-passing across the rodeo arena and chaps. They're like, oh my gosh, look at this cowboy. But you can do it. And I've played with it a lot, even with my horse that just passed away.
Might be a nice
He was at that level.
to get him
But that's
soft.
at an elevated level of communication. So you want to start this way,
Yeah.
to where he understands, oh, get off that pressure. You wouldn't just put this on him and let's ride with contact, let's collect him up. He's going to be like bracy and rigid and push, and he's just not going to know. So once we show him and we evolve, probably about 120 sessions, you could have him dialed in pretty good where you want him, where you're riding collected, and your reins are going to be like this short, and his arc is going to be really, you'll feel it, no one will see it. See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same way, same
I
thing.
I'd rather start off on a good basis and introduce it right and correct, not have him afraid of it.
That's right.
I think that's the hardest thing is
Yeah.
hands. I mean, you're a dressage rider too heavy in your hands.
Yeah,
And
most-
try your seat and
Most dressage horses that I've played with, at these rescues or schools or off-track thoroughbreds or whatever, non-restraint communication is the most beneficial thing you'll do. So even when you are at that level where he does understand it and he gets into something where he's pushing against it, you're just going to use that energy against him. By picking up on one rein, and you're going to circle into a one rein stop, you're going to let him relax, you're going to hit that relax button, you're going to start over. And then he's going to be like, oh yeah, that's right, I remember. You're not going to get heavier. Make sense? Yeah. And that's a mistake a lot of people make.
We have a question on our Facebook Live from Chris. I see that the bitless bridle comes in a draft size. Is this a warm blood size, or does this fit a true draft?
It'll fit a true draft. We have a Clydesdale, or my photographer has a Clydesdale, and she's a true draft Clydesdale. It'll fit her, and then it'll size down from there. So it's pretty stretched out to fit a big draft, but you can draw it in, you can cut this and punch more holes. You can cut the chin strap, punch more holes to get it to come down. So that draft, we have one here, it's already sized up to fit a big draft. Yeah, heavy draft.
Okay, thank you.
Do you flag them before you step up on them?
You're going to see, if you go to my Facebook group, you're going to see me flagging a horse because I asked for arm extension to hand me a flag. Generally, to answer your question, no, I don't flag horses. I know how. A lot of my clients don't, so we gave up on that. But to answer your question, I don't generally flag a horse. Don't really need to. It's one of those things when you establish this communication. We use a flag and they'll be like, yeah, I get it. I understand what you're doing.
Can you explain what a flag is for our viewers?
Okay, a flag is you got an arm extension and you got a little flag on the end of your arm extension, and it flaps. So you'll be using it in communication with your horse to get them to kind of desensitize down to that stimulus. Once we have our horses to where they understand this communication, a lot of confusion and anxiety go away. So introducing a flag will get really boring really quick because they already know what you're asking them. I need you to stand still. When I drop pressure, horse stands still. I need you to relax. When I drop pressure, horse relax. So all those things are already built in to where if you want to do a flag, you can do it. It's not a problem. They're real receptive to it because they already understand what you're expecting from them based on this communication that you're established and engage in that conversation continuously. So I introduced something new over the course of 3 days. So based on the horse's feedback, maybe 5 or 6 days, but 3 days to show them something new, get them to understand what it is I expect from them, and then we move on. A flag, you can throw that in there. It's nothing that I do. I honestly have never flagged any of my own horses, but you can, absolutely. You've raised twice. I'm sorry. I get to you now.
Okay. Will it work on a driving horse?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if all of you guys want to join my Facebook group, it's $15 a month, and I train every week. I do a Facebook Live. I got a little pony out of a rescue that was a bucker, and we already got that out of him. He's for my little 6-year-old daughter. We're going to teach him to drive with a bitless bridle. I got another one that already does it. It's fine. Yeah, so absolutely, to answer your question, yes. And I can't wait to do this little pony because he's so cute.
We race horses for a living.
You race them?
Race horses for a living.
Like race?
Standardbred?
Standardbred.
Standardbred
Okay.
racing.
That's why I asked. A couple horses we have that by the time we get some of them, understand they're already, heavy hands have been very much in their life. I've always questioned using even a hackamore. Is it possible because the mouths get more out?
Yep, absolutely. In fact, that horse is going to know the bad side. In fact, that horse, like that you're talking about, he's going to know that side of things. You show him this side, he's going to appreciate it probably a little bit much more than a horse that's never been shown anything.
Right.
So yes, that is exactly what we'll do. I had a standardbred, and he was high-headed and heavy and pushy and all that. We got him just this way, riding loose reins, soft. Pick up on 2 reins of pressure, stops those feet under 8 ounces. And it's just a whole new concept that they really are going to appreciate, especially if they've had the wrong way training. So yeah, I answer your question. He'll love it. Yes?
When you talk about, like, I did this in 3 days or 5 days or 8 days, how long are your sessions per day?
Good question. So whenever I say a 3-day to get a horse to understand the concept of going bridleless, I'm talking about my mare Cinnamon. She's a very high achiever, very relaxed, very affectionate horse, very willing, and just was like the best horse that I've ever had the pleasure of training to do this concept this way. So yeah, she's a wild horse. Come off the trailer, introduce her properly to myself, engage in the conversation, show her a 5-part series, just progress along to where I'm up on her back. I give her a leg, calf muscle, pick up on a range. Everything's just flowing. That was 3 days. Those sessions were probably, first day was probably 2.5 hours. Second day was probably 2.5 hours. Third day is probably maybe 4 hours. And it's not like I'm just constantly there 2.5 hours doing that one thing. That included prep time, tiny little window of opportunity to show her what I wanted to do, and leading exercise, or walking over here, or brushing, or picking up all 4 feet. I threw a lot in there because she was just like, okay, yeah, let's just do whatever you want, Justin. Some horses, the 8-day horse is just based on time that I had after clinics in Virginia when I was doing that, and that was probably an hour the first day, hour and a half, second day. So, and a lot of it depends on the particular horse, and based on their feedback, I'll know if they're paying attention or if they're getting frustrated, or all these feedback scenarios come in will dictate how much time I get with them. But it's not like a day. It's not an 8-hour day I've never done that. Unless it's a trail ride, and you could call that a training exercise. We did 8 hours that day, but 6 hours was riding around on a walk and doing pine trees and stop at the tree and take some pictures, whatever. But it's not consistent, focused training for 8 hours. So when I say those 3 days, it was probably an hour and a half each day, 2 hours, somewhere in there, for the best answer. Most horses that I play with, it's a 15-minute to an hour session, start to finish. And it just depends on that horse. Like today, we did that little mare, and she was probably a good 2 hours total time. But that's about maxed out for her. I wouldn't have probably kept going. She wasn't really into it. So it just depends on the horse as how long your sessions will go. You got to also understand, like, if you're drilling something, it's kind of like me asking you 1 + 1 = 2. How long are you guys going to sit here and let me ask you that before you say, well, I'm leaving? Or can we talk about something else? Your horse is going to do that too. And there's nothing wrong with doing something different for a while and going back to what you're really trying to focus on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that kind of, yeah. Because I'll have in my mind, I want to go down there and I train competition horses for these competitions, Mustang makeovers or rescue horse competitions. And I've got 100 days to do everything I need to get done. Whether, life gets in the way and it's like, well, I really need to show Apollo how to side pass today. I'll go down there with that in my mind. Let's see if we can get there. So it may be, well, I'm going to put a calf on him, and I'm going to pick up on a right rein, and I'm going to ask him to give me 1 step, and we'll release and relax. Darn, I've already wasted an hour and a half before that, so I'm just going to get 1 step. Boom, that's it. That's the concept. I got it. Let's do the other way. Got the concept. Then we'll go do something else I know we're going to have to do, which is usually open a gate. So I know he wants to leave because he's already done. So we go up to the gate and we start, well, let me see if I can get you to side pass 1 step to the gate. And we'll just progress that way and make it a little bit more fun and not drill exactly what I wanted to drill and use what I know he wants to do. So you tie these things into where it keeps that horse engaged, keeps it fun, keeps him interested, and you're not drilling. Does that make sense? And asking him the same question where he's bored to death. You change it up a little bit. Keep him engaged.
Do you have a hard time getting people to understand the concept that you cannot train a horse in 30 days?
Yes, that is like the most beautiful thing anybody's ever said at a clinic. Thank you, sir. Yes, here's my analogy. I get a lot of, I used to. I don't do it anymore. I've attracted the right kind of client nowadays to where they understand that they want to do this. They just need some guidance to do it. And that's a beautiful thing, because I'm going to be out of the equation of the horse and the owner. I just want to be there as the catalyst for you guys to mesh together and have a beautiful relationship. So that's the kind of clients I attract nowadays. But back in the day, I'd have people that, this is the analogy, they want their car painted, they drop the car off to get it painted in 30 days, and they come pay the guy, it's painted, and we go. That's not a horse. So good. Glad you pointed that out. This is something that you have to be in that mindset to understand that this is a relationship I want to start, do everything we're supposed to do in between to get where we're going. So a lot of people, they have a starting point and they have where they want to go, but they skip a lot of stuff in here. And one of the priorities for success is enjoy your experience with your horse. Whether it's good or bad, that's where you're learning each other. It's one of those things where I can't wait to feel, not him, but I can't wait to feel a horse and learn how to apply proper pressure, proper question, at the proper time for the proper response that I desire, that I expect. So I get to present what I expect. I get to watch how she receives, and then I get to take notes on their feedback. And if I like it, I'm going to keep doing that. If I don't, change here, represent. And it's me, or it's the owner that has to do that. I can teach a horse or train a horse or ask a horse to learn or whatever you want to call it. No problem. I can get that done 30, 60, 90 days, whatever. But it's use it or lose it. It's going to go away. And here's a prime example. I'm very blessed to have that trail ride business. I've taken over 3,000 people trail riding in the mountains of Colorado on my own personal horses that I have intimate relationship with. I know that horse. I'll go ride that horse after 4 years. I did this the other day. I haven't ridden my own horse in 4 years because he just does what he's supposed to do. And I went and rode him and I was like, oh my gosh, you forgot that? Like, get off my leg so we can side pass to the gate. He's like, huh? Tourists don't use legs. So 4 years, no one's asked him that. So it's kind of like use it or lose it. It's like if you learn a foreign language and you don't practice your foreign language, you're going to lose it. Same with these guys. So that person needs to understand, this isn't 30 days. This is a lifetime. And how beautiful is that? Because if they were just all trained in 30 days, it'd be pretty boring. I'd lose interest. Like, well, I'm done. Let's go work on boats or something. So very good question. Glad you asked that. Any other questions? See if y'all can top his question. We do outfitting, and we'll do pack trips, 4 or 5 day pack trips. And some of the benefits of this bridle, not just in the communication with the horse. I can put a pile of bridles with 7, 8 horses, they're tied to highline or they're ground tied grazing, whatever. And I don't have to thumb through, pick the bridle because he likes this bit or he likes that bit or she won't use that bit on her. She'll rear up and flip over. None of that stuff. I don't have to warm up cold bits on the mornings that we go on hunting trips. I just grab a bitless bridle and put it on my horse. It doesn't matter. They're adjustable, so it's a beautiful thing. The horses never anticipate pain, so I catch them out of 1,000 acres. Put a lead rope and halter on them, or I'll put this ride on them, lead them over to the trailer, saddle them up, go do what I got to do, fix a fence, whatever. Bring them back, take all my gear off, and let them go. They don't anticipate pain. We never use pain. They're real responsive. They're real quiet. It's a conversation. It's just like me having a conversation with you guys. It's not painful, I hope. So, I can't say enough nice things about it. I use it. A lot of my clients use it. I've been using it for years. All my tourist horses are in it. Every horse I own is in it. So they work really, really well. Horses really, really appreciate them. And it's something you can use forever, and you can eliminate a lot of, I guess they would be undesirable issues that a horse may have by not using it. Meaning, a lot of my clients that transition from bit to bitless, they'll notice something changed in their horse that they weren't even aware of before. So they're like calling me, my horse used to head toss, and I never really paid attention to that. I didn't really understand why. It wasn't real bad, it was just a little bit. And they don't do that anymore. I was like, cool. And it may not have been a deal with their horse being anxious or anything. Some of them just get fidgety and they like to feel that bit bang against their gums. They'll just do that. She's like, I just noticed that went away after all this time with my horse. And then other things, like person will pick up on a rein. Their horse will kind of do this and open his mouth and stop. And it's kind of a stop and it's kind of a, I don't know. And then you put this in, she picks up on a rein and it's like, he just stops. There's none of this little jig or anything like he used to do. It was a gaited horse, by the way, but anyway.
But you still think you could transition, like if you were doing dressage and you were landing, or you could start with this, just introduce them if they're young, and then transition over to that.
Yep. Yeah, I think the girl that just won Road to the Horse from New Zealand was bitless. She's that,
Mm-hmm.
So people are using it. People do it. I think it's I don't think it's anything new under the sun. I think it's probably 3,000 years old if we really look at it. I mean, before they could bang out metal, I guess.
Well, the Indians did it.
The Native Americans,
Yeah, I mean, so it's not. I didn't reinvent anything. I just realized one day my horses really appreciate it much more. And I really need them to help me with that mission of taking people from all over the world, trail ride them in the mountains safely, bring them back safely, and have a good experience. Otherwise, you can't stay in business. It's like, it just doesn't work. Have we gone an hour? I said 9 million words today. That's good, though. Glad you guys showed up. We got some coupons to hand out, unless you already did. She's already got it. If you guys are on Facebook, Anybody on Facebook? Raise your hand if you're not. We'll get you there. We'll get you an account. But you could go online and check out the videos that we shot today, Big D's, on Facebook. And then I have a group as well. We do a training group, and she was just shooting video for that training group. And I do 4 live sessions a month, plus pre-recorded. So all the horses we play with, draft size horses. I haven't done any minis in the group yet, but we do minis, we do whatever, you know. We do a lot of off the track guys because I do a lot of rescue stuff. You know, I'll get called out to a rescue, and they're like, "We got this guy," and it's like, "Yeah, I know. Let's talk to him." And you know, and it's uneventful, and they're like, "Oh man, we thought he was gonna like jump out of the pen." But you just communicate with these horses this way, and we show how to do that on Facebook over and over. Oh yeah.
Some goodies to.
So how's this one work?
Well, let me make sure, did anyone not have a raffle ticket? Anyone not signed up?
I keep wanting to not do stuff because I don't want to spook the horse. You know, I was going to do that, and I was like, oh, I better not. He might run away.
Do you want to say bye to your Facebook viewers?
Okay, guys, Justin Dunn here. We're in Streetsboro, Ohio. We just got through at Big D's. Go to there. You're on there. Hit like, comment, and I'll see you. Bye-bye.